Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's stories are from r/askreddit where people were asked, think of the smartest person you know, what is the dumbest thing they've ever done? Story 1. Guy with a PhD in chemistry. Had a problem with an electric furnace, it kept switching off the circuit breakers. So, he was told by someone to stick a wooden splinter in it to keep the switch up, but it was too weak, and the gap in the breaker was too narrow. Therefore, he took some strips of metal instead. Well, he's still alive. However, he said he almost shat himself. Story 2. Friend of my mother's. PhD in biology, specialized in mushrooms. She was also a bit of an artist and carved wood with bacteria in her spare time. She'd previously tried to do it with fungus and, well, it wasn't fast enough. After a few years of carving with bacteria, she decided they weren't fast enough either, so she switched to insects. Ordered, banned beetles from Japan, illegal insecticide from South America, and went to town carving faces in wood. Except that the government had noticed. When she got raided, there were 6 federal agencies, and at least as many from the state. FBI? EPA? DEA? FWS? USDA? CBP? I'm a professor of biology at blank college. Worked great. The DEA and FBI were willing to overlook her coca-based insecticide, considering that she was eligible to purchase it with a couple of forms. The EPA and CBP didn't care about her illegal boring beetles for much the same reason. Fish and Wildlife didn't even know why they were there. The problem was the USDA. During the search of her house, they found a bag of the fungus that causes Dutch elm disease, open. On the kitchen counter, next to the toaster oven. She even got out of that. Story 3. My sister. My wonderful sister. So intelligent, educated. But dang. They had their house inspected, and the inspector found an issue with their gas heat. They called in a repairman, and it turns out they were having lower levels of carbon monoxide leaking into their home. When my mom asked her why she didn't have several working detectors, she answered, well, I did, but one just wouldn't quit beeping. This was 10 years ago and we still bring it up all the time. Thankfully everyone turned out to be okay, but that wouldn't have been the case much longer. Story 4. I have a neighbor, he is, by far, the smartest person I know. A couple 4th of Julys ago, he got a quarter stick of dynamite and strapped it to an RC boat with a detonate button and a timer. He sent it out on the lake at night, flipped the switch, and it didn't go off. So, he took it back into the house to fix it but never turned the detonate button off. So, when it was fixed, the 7-second timer started going. It ended up going off in the house and blowing out all of the windows. Everyone was safe. Story 5. I have a grandfather who was an extremely talented criminal, who used to rob store safes. One time, he robbed a safe while posing as an inspector, without even being noticed. He eventually turned himself in after starting a family, having my mom, then summarily escaped from prison, and managed to create a fake identity with a loophole that has now been closed. He lived with a fake last name for several years until he was eventually caught. However, he managed to negotiate for a pardon by explaining the loophole he used to create his fake name. It was either the mayor or the governor, I forgot. He went free and got a job as a maintenance guy. Then, he retired and gave all of his money to a scam televangelist, and now he lives in poverty. Story 6. My dad is a software engineer and pretty smart. When my twin and I were about 7, he was the only one home with us when he started coughing up blood. Except he didn't tell anyone, and decided to just wait for my mom to get home, instead of getting someone else to look after us and going to the hospital. My mom was so pissed when she got home, and he casually mentioned the coughing up blood thing. Turned out he had bronchopneumonia and had to spend a couple of weeks in the hospital. He even had to have his heart stopped and started again. He almost died because he decided coughing up blood wasn't an emergency. Story 7. Easy. Dad's an actuary, basically, a cross between a mathematician and an economist. He wrote a textbook for his field and has been CEO of several very large companies. I came home many years ago to hear Age of Empires blaring at 1,000,000 decibel. That's odd. I wandered downstairs to find him playing the game, with headphones on. But unplugged. He had the sound turned up on the speakers because he couldn't hear it over the dampening of the headphones. To top it off, he had the headphones on backwards. To this day, it makes me smirk. Story 8. Brother-in-law is a pretty clever guy. He ran a bath for his kid, but couldn't get the tap to turn off. Mad panic. He rang a plumber friend, asking him to come round quick, or the house is gonna flood. The friend was like, you could just pull the plug? Real nice. Real clever guy. Zero common sense. Story 9. My partner, postgrad quals, civil engineer, super rational, smart, measured, not at all impulsive, human being, walking along the water's edge at the start of jellyfish season, sees a mass in the water. That looks like a jellyfish. Kicks the mass. Toe connects with the mass. Duck. It was a rock. Having gotten over my amazement at the stupidity I just witnessed, I pocketed the rock, gave it to him as a congratulations on your amazing career promotion, just to remind him that he is not immune to errors of judgment. Story 10. My brother, as a kid, once threw a rock at a dead jellyfish, which exploded on him. He was little, but it's still funny. I remember a time I was swimming at the beach, jellyfish were a thing, and you just swam away from one if you see it. So I see two, and I swim a little away. After a few minutes, I notice a few more behind me. I turn to swim forward, and there is one there. As I look around, I see that I am being encircled by jellyfish. It was like they were coordinating an attack on me. I remember getting really scared, because I didn't think I could swim under them. After a few waves moved us about, I saw an opening and swam as fast as I could away, and got on the beach. Story 11. I did my undergrad with a guy who got an almost perfect score on his MCAT, but also ate a raw chicken breast because he thought it was a really bad Hot Pocket. He was sober. Edit, for all those asking, it was one of those individually packaged, breaded and stuffed chicken breasts that was frozen. He thought it was an off-brand Hot Pocket, microwaved it for a minute, or however long you usually cook a Hot Pocket for, and chowed down. He ate it so fast. He didn't really question why it was so slimy or, still frozen. Another time, when he was in early high school, maybe 14 years old, his mom was making his lunch and feeding the cat at the same time. She worked 3 jobs and is a real-life angel. And mixed up the cat food with the can of tuna for his tuna salad sandwich. So, he has also eaten a cat food sandwich. He figured that one out after the fact, but was too polite to say anything to his very tired mom. Story 12. My brother was once so hungry, he gave up while cooking a frozen cordon bleu. He bought at the grocery store and ate the damn thing half frozen. He was a cardiologist, but I think the universe gave him a lot of smart and too little of practical, everyday skills. He also had the worst sense of direction. He was like an adorable, clumsy kitten at home, and a completely different person at work. Story 13. My husband. He's a mathematician for the feds, but he has repeatedly gotten us to the wrong airport in cities that have more than one. Like at least 3 times. He's brilliant, but a moron. Story 14. My older brother. Hands down one of the smartest people I've ever had the privilege of knowing. Once got incredibly drunk, and wrote ass in big black permanent marker on the rightest cheek of an acquaintance who was wearing a brand new pair of like $85 white jeans. Never seen him look so ashamed while giving money to a person for clothing. Story 15. My dad is the smartest person and anyone who knows him, know, and once when we were kids he tried to make us laugh by sticking peas in his nostrils and ended up accidentally snorting them up into his nasal passages. Best part, he's an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. One of the best in the region. I can still hear him pleading with my mother to take them out because he couldn't face his colleagues with peas up his nose that he voluntarily put there. Story 16. I was picking up my date, future wife, when her valedictorian roommate turned quickly away from the TV and said in all seriousness, "Don't look, they're welding. It will damage your eyes." She got more serious as I continued to look back and forth at the TV and her. She actually yelled, "It's going to blind you." I then asked her, "So when your TV is showing an image of the sun?" That's as far as I got. You could see the wave of embarrassment wash over her face. She immediately started crying and begged me not to tell anyone. Story 17. My aunt. College professor. PhD in mathematics. Was blown away when watching my father cook rice without a rice cooker. Edit, a shocking number of people are perfectly fine with the fact that they are unable to make rice, an incredibly simple process, on the stove without a dedicated machine. How the effing do you live with yourselves? Story 18. Told me that they believe romantic scenes in movies were real and didn't understand how the actors' significant others handled it. This person is a doctor. Story 19. My colleague was tasked to put mail into the mailbox. She asked me where it is and what it looks like. Around the corner, and it's a red box. Turns out, there is another red box marked General Waste. About 2 meters away is the red box that spells out Australia Post. She's been throwing away our mail. Edit, thank you for all the awards. But, just to get it straight, she's generally quite bright and very efficient. This is just an outlier. All the mail that we have to post is return to sender mail and often junk mail. I don't care that you don't receive monthly spam from Flight Center. Story 20. My friend in college graduated summa cum laude with a double major in biology and chemistry. She went on to medical school and became a physician in a hospital you've definitely heard of. One day, she put a fork in the microwave when heating up a bowl of green beans, and I had to explain to her why the microwave sounded like it was full of firecrackers. Story 21. My brother has PhDs in bioengineering. We were on a call one day, and he was saying, "I can't find my phone. Probably my kids took it." He didn't realize until I told him that he is using his phone to talk to me. Story 22. My one college professor had a double doctorate, several master's degrees, and was literally the head of the national magazine for his field. He had a lot of respect in the science community. He didn't know electric eels were real, he argued with us. Story 23. My best friend is a researcher for space stuff at a top university in the US. She is getting her PhD and master's simultaneously. She has several computer, science, and math degrees, and graduated with honors. She's the smartest. A lot of people know. I'm very proud of her. That being said, her list of common sense things is rather low. I've had to explain to her exactly why picking up hitchhikers is a no-no. Why hiking along trails alone in deep woods alone is dangerous. But, truly, take the cake, the incident that happened when we were freshmen in college. We went to different colleges, several hours in different states away, but talked weekly. 10 years later. We still do. Anyway, she calls me, saying her clothes stink, and she had washed them several times without wearing them. I ask what kind of detergent she's using, and she says Tide. I say that it's probably the from washing machines, and they're never cleaned, and to get some of fresh or vinegar. She agrees and says, maybe I should use detergent more often. Jazz music stop. What? Wait? I sputtered out in my hysterical sobs of laughter. Listen, smartest person I know, you have to use laundry detergent every single time you wash clothes. And that's why they stink. As a child, she thought her parents were just being frivolous, using it every time. I asked her what she thought it was really for, and she thought it was to keep the washing machine clean. She was terribly upset that her detergent budget had increased after I told her. Story 24. My mother, Oxford mathematics graduate, with no parental leg up, shall we say, aka not from a posh family or anything. She had her IQ tested officially, in a proctored exam, and got 163. Mensa member, till she realized what kind of person joins Mensa. This woman cannot understand time zones. Which is ironic because her family lives in Australia, Hong Kong, the UK, and the east and west coast of America. She never knows when it's appropriate to be calling anyone, and you may get a random call from her at 3 a.m. But we love her anyway. Story 25. My dad. He had one of his ears pierced when he was in college. He went to a party wearing an earring. A girl started talking to him and decided to give him one of her earrings, but he didn't want to take his earring out, so he stabbed her earring through his unpierced earlobe. This man is now an engineer. Story 26. My brother's friend was high school valedictorian. In college, he gathered up deer turds to play a practical joke on his roommate by putting said deer turds into a box of Cocoa Puff cereal. 2 days later, he forgets about the deer turds and goes to pour himself a bowl of Cocoa Puffs. Instead of nice, sugary cereal, he gets a spoonful of deer turds. To add more context, this guy was real book smart, terrific grades throughout high school and college. He got a bachelor's degree in biology. I think he may even have a master's degree now, not entirely sure on that one, but he has almost no common sense. Hence, forgetting about the deer turds in the cereal. He's had other stupid moments, but I think this was the worst. Story 27. My late father was a particle physicist. He understood things that, I think I'm not being hyperbolic here, only about 3,000 to 5,000 people understand. He was on a team that worked on the calculation of the mass of the Higgs boson. His team got it wrong. In addition to being a particle physicist, he was also an avid student of history and completed 2 bachelor's degrees at MIT, one in physics, one in history. Mind you, that's not a double major, but 2 degrees in 4 years. Anyway, that guy got done in by a 2-bit con job at an ATM in the late 90s. They wrote him a bum check for $200 or something, and he gave them cash. That's it for now. See you in the next post.